Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'm going to be doing a storytime video because I'm a basic ass bitch and I need to follow YouTube trends. So this storytime video focuses around a high school experience of mine, and this was when I was in 10th grade, or I had just started 10th grade. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Please no. So just to preface the video, I had a morning class with this teacher named Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson's not really his real name, but obviously I'm not going to disclose his private information online. So I'm not going to give you his description. I'm not going to give you information about what he taught, what he did. You'll just know that his name was Mr. Jackson, okay? Mr. Jackson, at the start of every single class, he would play these really fucking weird videos, like these really like weird ass, like you would never expect videos. Like you'd walk into his class and he'd have a video up already and everybody would be seated, and then the video would go into class time. So for example, if the class started at like 9:10, the video took up like 10 minutes of the class time, and the class actually started at like 9:20, you know what I mean? So he had like these really weird ass videos. For example, some of them were like K-pop videos, some of them were like why would you watch K-pop in school, right? Like I'm a K-pop fan, but there's no need to have K-pop videos in school, you know what I mean? Like why would you, like what? Some other videos he did were like these weird like cat videos, maybe like weird documentaries, like 10-minute documentaries that he did. And these videos would stretch into class time. Now keep in mind, the class was always dark. Like he had blinds that were like folded down, or like turned, how do you say that? Turned down. The blinds were down. The blinds were basically to where the sun was blocked, okay? That's gonna be my term for it. So the sun was blocked, and everything in class was completely dark all times when we were watching these videos. This was like a weird, like ominous vibe for me. Hold on, I'm gonna get a piece of paper so I can like show you guys, like, excuse my fucking drawing, but like I really have to get a piece of paper because otherwise I can't really like show you the, it's a visual thing, right? Here, and we're live, we're back. Okay, so I have the super like ass like trash drawing, but hopefully you'll understand what I'm getting at by like looking at this, you know? So okay, so here's like, okay, so this is the smart board at the front of the class, right? These are the desks and they're pointed directionally, like diagonally towards the smart board. So everybody's like watching the video that was right here, and the class is all dark. And then we have right here, we have Mr. Jackson's desk, right? So Mr. Jackson, like normal ass teachers, you know, sit like right here, right? He would sit like over here in the back. So these desks were like open. So envision like an open desk, right? And you could see like people's sides. Like everybody's side was visible. So he could like literally, he was sitting here and he could see the side of everybody. Does that make sense? Like everybody would be like, for example, if girls were wearing short shorts, he could see like their whole thigh. He could see like guys' whole like, you know, like the side, like this area would be visible to him. While we were all watching this video in the dark every single fucking day, every single day we'd watch videos, like religiously. We would watch videos for 10 minutes a day, right? Okay, there's my drawing. Maybe I'll reference this back later, but for now, we'll get on with the video. I had a friend named Zach. Zach was obviously not his real name, you know. I'm just gonna call him Zach because, you know, I can't really disclose his information either. Zach and I were like good friends through high school, and after school was like over, after classes were over, we would always walk around the school because instead of waiting for our parents like everybody else, like waited outside for their parents to pick them up, because at this time we were still sophomores in 10th grade. Age range maybe like 16 to like 15, you know, the kids. So instead of waiting for our parents, we'd like walk around the school and like just walk around the hallways, talk. Sometimes we'd have more people with us, like just to walk around the hallways, like fuck around, like fool around and like talk, whatever, you know. And Mr. Jackson would always like ominously, like every day he would be there walking across these hallways. And in this like every single time he saw us, in this like super flamboyant voice, he'd go like, "Hey boys, like like, hey boy, like, you know what I mean? Like, fucking, like, exactly how I'm saying. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. You think I'm exaggerating? I'm not exaggerating. Literally, like, hey boys, like, to all the groups. So, like, sometimes it could be like a group of 5 guys that we were walking with, and he'd be like, hey boys, and like I would just burst out laughing, right? Some of my friends were like scared. They're like, "What the fuck is like going on?" I would just burst out laughing because I thought this was like so funny to me. Like, what the fuck? Like, who the fuck says that in their like daily life, right? I just thought that was like ridiculous. Like, are you like, what is wrong with you, right? So that's just like a side thing that like was going on that doesn't really go with the main story, but it gives you like little details of how he was as like a person, you know. And he wasn't like, when he was saying this stuff, he wasn't like joking either. He was like 100% serious. Like, he expected a response from us when he was like saying stuff like that, you know. So another really weird ass thing about Mr. Jackson is that he would require students to do physical activity if they were late to his class, right? I don't know why. Like, it was 9 in the morning, it was like, or was it 8 in the morning? It was like 9 in the morning. This was like 3 years ago, so I really don't like, I can't really recall the exact time or whatever, but like at 8 in the morning he would require students to do physical activity if they were late even like 2 minutes to his class, right? So for example, if you were late, and usually for the boys too, for the girls he never really had a like punishment kind of thing. Like, it was only for the guys, where the guys would have to do like push-ups or sit-ups, and while everybody's like, you know, like fucking being mind controlled with this video, and so like focus on these videos that I was referencing earlier, right? He would have students go to the back if they were late and do like push-ups, and he would watch them do fucking push-ups. Like, he would, like, I'm not even like 100% not lying, he was on the floor while these students were doing push-ups, and he would be like watching their abdomens, like the boys' abdomens and shit, you know, like the boys' chest. When you're doing push-ups, he would be fucking like, he'd be on the floor, like, to make sure they were hitting the floor properly while they were doing fucking push-ups. Like he was laying on the floor, like maybe half a foot away from these boys, and he was like fucking watching them to make sure that they were doing the push-ups correctly. Like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Pedophilia level max, you know what I mean? So he did that every single day. When somebody was late, they would have to go on the floor, and he would like watch them do push-ups. To give you like a reference, hold on. To give you like a reference of where they did these push-ups, I'm gonna go back to my fucking like trash ass, like crap ass drawing, okay? Alright, so smartboard, desks, right? Here's his desk where he would be watching the students while they were like being mind controlled by the fucking video. And then this is the area where he would do push-ups with the fucking students. You know, so like, for example, like this is imagine this is like a classroom, right? This is the door where people walk in. People would walk in, and if they're late, they would automatically go to this area right here. And he would like literally lay down right here on the floor with them, and they'd be doing like fucking push-ups, and he'd be like fucking watching them while the whole classroom is like focused on the video, you know? So they're not like really suspecting anything, but you can't get me. I was fucking watching you. I was watching you, you creep, you feel? Like, that's where we had like the fucking like crime scene of, I don't know what he was doing. Was he like jerking off to these boys? Like, I don't fucking know. Like, that's what it like looked like almost, because he was like he was like almost like fucking humping the floor while they were like doing these push-ups. Like, it was like insane. Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't even know. Like, I don't understand. That's the push-up side of the story. Now on to the experience that I've had with him at the end of class one day, right? So during what I believe it was towards the end of the year. It was towards the end of the year, because I remember it was hot, and I was wearing a very like spandexy shirt, you know what I mean? Like, this shirt is like pretty loose, right? But I was wearing like a very like spandexy shirt, and at that time I used to work out a lot, so I had like a pretty like nice build or whatever, and I had like the V shape going down or whatever. And imagine the shirt was like too small on me too, right? It was like a size too small. And so imagine it like completely constricting my body, right? Like, everything is shown, my pecs are like fucking like plopping out of the shirt, right? My like abdomen's like being covered by the shirt, and the shirt's like pulling over my like lats and my back, right? So like, envision that, right? Okay, so at the end of class I go up to him and I'm like, hey, Mr. Jackson, do you like, when's the next exam, right? And while I was doing that, I don't know what the fuck I was doing, but I was like stretching like this. Like, I don't know, I'm like retarded, you know? I was like stretching like this, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know why. I was just stretching like this, something like that, you know? And he's like standing there, and keep in mind, this is towards the end of the class, so everybody leaves. Everybody is like on the way out of the door some people are still packing up, you know, those like fucking losers who like have to like grab their 5 million pencils, you know, I'm just kidding. That was me. So he like fucking, he's standing there while I'm talking to you. Keep in mind, he's like a taller guy. At this time, I was like 16, so I was a little bit like shorter, maybe like 5'8"-ish, maybe like, you know, 5'8"-ish, and he was around like 6'2", maybe 6'3". I think he was like 6'3", 6'4". So he like takes his arm, right? He had like pretty big hands too, I remember, and he like fucking grabs my lat. Like, if you don't know what lat is, it's like, a lat is like your muscle right here. So while I'm stretching, right, like out of fucking nowhere, he grabs my lat and he's like holding on to my lat, and he's like as he's explaining to me when the next test is, because I asked him when the next test was, because I wanted to like study or whatever. Study, let's get real. I don't know. I was just asking when the next test was because I was retarded. Maybe I just like randomly asked him the question. I really didn't even care when the next test was. I just like randomly asked him the question, right? So he's like fucking grabbing my lat right here, and he's holding on to it while we're talking. So imagine I'm like stretching like this. I don't know. I'm like doing this or whatever, like randomly. You know, it wasn't like awkward. Like I'm like doing it right now. It wasn't like I didn't have a seizure while I was doing it. Like he was holding on to like this part of my body for at least a good 20 seconds while we were talking. Like what the fuck? I didn't even say anything, right? But he's like holding on to this part of my like body, like this. Just like envision like this. Envision his hand right here. Imagine him like standing right here, and he's like fucking talking to me while like massaging like this fucking area and like holding on to this. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I don't understand. I'm like 16. Like, you're a pedophile. What are you doing? I didn't say anything to him at that point because I was like too terrified. Like, I kind of understand those girls now, or especially I do now when people mention that I kind of understand when people mention that they freeze up in the middle of like pre-rape. You know what I mean? Because they really can't like an action or words just really don't come out. So that was like literally me. I'm like standing here and he's holding on to my like lat and like massaging me. Like, what the fuck? Like, what are you? Keep in mind, he's like a 40-something-year-old man and I'm like 16. So he's like massaging my I like literally didn't even know him personally or anything. And like we weren't close enough for him to like even do that as a joke. But see, even if he was close enough to me to do that as a joke, it still would be weird. You know what I mean? So he's like holding on to my lat. He's like massaging the fuck out of it. Like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, Mr. Jackson, like, can I like fucking leave now? Like, I didn't need like a fucking, like, I didn't come for a spa massage. I fucking came to know when my next exam was, right? Like, what the fuck? So eventually he like lets me go and I'm like on my merry way to my next classes. Like, what the fuck? I go up to Zach and I'm like, Mr. Jackson just fucking grabbed me and he was like holding on to me for like at least 20 seconds. Like, you know, isn't that weird? Right? And he's like, yeah, that's like so fucking weird. And I'm like, do you think he's a pedophile? Because like, at this time, you know, all the shit that I've said beforehand, like the dark room, like the children being hypnotized by the fucking like videos that he showed every single day, the push-ups where he was like fucking on the floor, like watching the boys' abdomens like and chests hit the fucking floor while they were doing push-ups, all that shit, like that didn't even like come to me like naturally. I had like no idea that, like my mind didn't put all this together until afterwards, after he grabbed my lat, right? That's when I really like, oh my god, this guy's like a fucking pedophile, you know? So yeah, that was my fucking pedophile story. I don't know what would have happened if I stayed in the class and kept, what if I had another question, you know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to be a teacher, you're not supposed to be having like sexual activity with me. I'm a fucking student, you're like 40, I'm like 16, I'm completely underage. I don't know what the fuck like was going on, and it's just like, I don't know. Be careful, kids. Do not. I don't know. Honestly, like what would happen if I stayed after school and had a like a question to ask him about a test or whatever, or like a homework or something, you know? Like, what if he had to help me with homework? Would he like, I don't know, like strap me down and like fucking, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Like, literally, I don't know. Guys, stay fucking safe. I don't know, watch out for pedophile teachers, honestly. And yeah, my social media shit is gonna be down in the below. Subscribe if you want more of these storytime videos or more of any other content of videos. And remember to like the video if you thought it was interesting or fucking weird, because it was a really weird experience for me, and the whole year was just a weird experience for me, you know? So yeah, thank you for watching. Bye guys.